Gets up here for Rob Penty.
Keep it going for Jeff, everybody. Our fearless leader. All right. When I was in my mid-30s, I was doing a lot of internet dating, and it was uneventful. And the way that I would console myself through all the failure and the boredom was to tell myself, hey, you know what? At least you learned something, right? Go on a date, and it didn't go well, there was nothing there, and I'd be like, you know what? You showed up, and you went on a date, you know what I mean? You were scared, but you did it, right? You learned something. And I'd go on another date where there was no chemistry, and I was like, you know what? Just because you like the same books and music and movies as somebody doesn't mean you have chemistry. People aren't checklists. You know, you learned something. And then it's like, you know, a woman can ghost on you at any time. And you just have to take it. You learned something. And after a while, I was getting pretty sick of learning and growing and being mature about things. And it was just getting exhausting. And I was telling this to my friend Pat as we took a walk through the Brooklyn Botanic Gardens. And he was pushing his daughter in a stroller. And I was telling him about this woman that I had just met in real life, which after months of internet dating was like a burning bush level miracle. And I was saying to him, dude, I don't want to learn anything from this one. I just want this one to be my girlfriend. And yeah, there's going to be a lot of that, all right? And I wanted a girlfriend at this point. I was in my mid-30s. All my friends were married, having their first kid, all that stuff. And I just wanted to feel normal about relationships for once, you know? And I figured, hey man, if it works out, maybe one day I could be the guy pushing the stroller, right? And so I took this girl on a date. The first date we took, we went to a comedy show, which she had never been to. So it kind of impressed her a little bit. Oh, this guy had a plan to take me somewhere that shows his interest. Cool. And then the second date, I gave her this book of short stories that I loved and I wanted her to read. And she was like, oh, cool. You gave me a book, so I have to see you again to give it back, right? And I was like, you know it. And the thing that really, I think in retrospect, kind of endeared me to her and kind of put me over the top with her was seriously that one time I called her on the phone just to talk. That was it, because it's 2019. Anything that isn't a text is like a beautiful grand gesture. You know what I mean? And what she didn't realize at the time was I was just giving her my 7th grade game. It was as if that we had danced to Stairway to Heaven at a bat mitzvah the weekend prior, and I wanted her to go to the movies with me. My dad can drive. But she thought it was like this kind of quirky steampunk thing, you know what I mean? I was sort of wheeling a Victrola under her apartment window and playing her some Billie Holiday like some Depression era John Cusack. And so she became my girlfriend. And it was great. I remember the first time I said I love you. It was night. We were lying down in her bed and the window was open. I swear to God, moonlight came in through the window. I said, I love you, and she said it right back. And we took this trip to Maine about a month into dating, and I met her family, which is something I was very scared to do with all the previous women I had dated. We drove 9 hours up and 9 hours back, and we didn't fight once. And guys, I swear, we went apple picking. Apple picking. And when we were done apple picking, we went home and made pies from scratch with our apples. And then when they were done, we took the pies out of the oven and we took pictures of ourselves with the pies, posted it on social media, and everybody typed, "Aw, how cute." And I was like, you are goddamn right that's cute. We're adorable. And it was wonderful. I wasn't learning shit. So we were a couple, you know, and so it went, you know, Netflix and sleeping till noon on the weekends and bagels and coffee and Christmas. New Year's, Valentine's, birthday, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, Valentine's, birthday, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, Valentine's, birthday, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, Valentine's, birthday. We were in her apartment, and it was snowing out. And we were both working from home. For me, working was in air quotes, because I was freelancing, which really means that I was very underemployed. I'm a web developer, and I was working on some problem. I couldn't get it done. I didn't know the solution. I was sitting on her couch, and I just was like trying to figure this out, and I couldn't do it, and I didn't know what to do. I was really frustrated, and under my breath, I just seethed, fuck. And she came out of her room, turned around, looked at me, and just said, "What is wrong with you?" And 3 days later, she went home to her parents' house in Connecticut, and she did this quirky thing where she gave me a call on the phone and ended our 4-year relationship. And she didn't even say that she was ending the relationship. She said, "I've decided to take a break from the relationship," which really sucked. Because that's like a little too clinical. It's kind of like when a doctor says, "Roll on your side, you're gonna feel some pressure." Like, he's not saying what's actually happening, like you're supposed to infer, you know what I mean? And that was it. She was done. No second guessing, no maybe I made a mistake, just done. And I was just like, how can you do that? How can you end this over the phone? Like, what happened? Why? You know? And that spring and summer were pretty ugly. I started smoking again after not having had a cigarette in like 2.5 years. I started going out really late with my friends every opportunity I had. And like I said, I was freelancing, so I was my own boss. And my boss was pretty checked out that summer. So I could get away with a lot of shit. Just show up at noon, kind of hungover, watch Netflix for a while, you know what I mean? And and I was filling a journal with all of these like angry venting things, like how could you do this over the phone? Why would you do this? My favorite gem from this era was, "You wiped your ass with 4 years of my life." I was 40 when I wrote that. All right, yeah. And but then I started running just to get out of the house. And I got a therapist, and my therapist recommended medication, which works, and meditation, which also works. And I got a job, a full-time job, the kind where you have to leave the house and put on pants, the importance of which cannot be overstated. And things just sort of got better. I was in a much better place. And I started looking back at this breakup that had come out of nowhere. And I realized that it didn't come out of nowhere. My ex-girlfriend, gave me a laundry list of every single time I had anxiety in the relationship when she was breaking up with me. Kind of shitty, but not inaccurate. And there was all these times where I was so stressed out about work and where the money was coming from, what my future was, what my life was, and she couldn't cheer me up. And I wouldn't allow myself to be cheered up. And being with a person like that is really difficult. That must have been very difficult for her. And that day that I said fuck under my breath, it just seemed like an isolated incident, but it wasn't. It was the last straw. So I understood why she had to end it. It had to end. So despite my best efforts, I fucking learned something. I'm not happy about it. I learned too much. You know what I mean? I learned like the sort of the evergreen stuff, like this too shall pass, you know, nothing lasts forever, you can't be with anybody else until you're okay with yourself, blah, blah, blah. And then I learned like specific shit about me, like I don't need that much of a push to start smoking and drinking too much. That's something. And like, you know, my anxiety is something that needs to be managed and taken care of, or else I'm gonna keep pushing people away. Also, I'm a really shitty freelancer. But despite all these lessons, and maybe I'm coming off as kind of mature, I swear to God, if my therapist heard this version of the story, he'd be like, who's this guy? I'd like to know who that calm person is. He's not the yelling guy who sees me once a week. Because I'm still confused and I'm still hurt. It's hard. This happened 2 years ago and it still hurts. But I took down the picture of us with the pies and everything else, and I disconnected any sort of connection with us online and stuff like that. And we don't talk, and we don't email each other, and we don't text, and we certainly don't call each other on the phone. Thank you.
Move on to last picture.